The galactic infirmary on Station Xylos was a place where miracles happened. If you had the credits, if you had the bloodline, if you were a high species for humans, it was just a place to clean up the mess. Ronin dipped his mop into the gray bucket, the smell of chemical disinfectant burning his nose. He kept his head down. That was the first rule of survival for a human on Xylos. Be invisible. Humans were the galaxy's newest entry, and so far, the verdict was that they were good for lifting heavy boxes and scrubbing floors, but not much else. Ronin knew better. The scars under his gray janitorial jumpsuit, shrapnel marks from the siege of Terra, burn scars from a plasma leak he'd contained with his bare hands, told a different story. But here, he was just the janitor. He squeezed the mop out. "Move, filth!" a tall, chitinous Vrakian doctor hissed, shoving past Ronin. Ronin didn't flinch. He didn't even look up. He just watched the doctor's polished boots recede down the hallway. "Have a nice day, Doc." Ronin muttered to the empty air, his voice a low gravel that hadn't been used for polite conversation in a long time. He pushed his cart toward room 402, the hopeless ward. Technically, he wasn't supposed to clean this room until the end of the shift. But Ronin liked room 402. It was quiet, and it held the only person on this godforsaken station who didn't look at him like he was a contagion, mostly because she couldn't look at anything. He keyed the door open. The room was dark, lit only by the bioluminescent pulse of the life support machines. There she was, Princess Kaelia of the Jade Nebula. Even paralyzed, wasting away in a stasis field, she was the most terrifyingly beautiful thing Ronin had ever seen. Her skin was the color of polished jade, faint veins of gold shimmering beneath the surface. She was tall, even sitting in the suspension chair, her limbs long and elegant. But her eyes were open, staring blankly at the wall. They were milky white, the sign of cryptic lock. It was a rare neurodegenerative disease that froze the victim's motor functions while leaving their mind perfectly intact. She was trapped in her own body, screaming in silence. The doctors had written her off. "Let nature take its course," the head physician had said. "Her biomass is rejecting the synthetic nutrients. She is fading." Ronin parked his cart. He looked at the tray of food sitting untouched on the side table. It was Nutri-Paste, a gray, flavorless sludge that the hospital served to everyone. It was cold. "They're trying to starve you, aren't they?" Ronin said softly, closing the door and locking it. He walked over to the chair. Kaelia didn't move. She couldn't. But Ronin, with instincts honed on a dozen battlefields, saw the subtle twitch in her pupil. She was in there, listening. "That paste is garbage," Ronin said, picking up the tray and dumping it into his trash bag. "No protein, no soul, just chemicals. No wonder your body is quitting." He reached into the deep pocket of his jumpsuit. This was a violation of station protocol. Punishment was immediate expulsion into the airlock. Ronin didn't care. He pulled out a thermos. "My grandmother used to say that if the bones are cold, you need fire in the belly," Ronin whispered. He unscrewed the lid. Steam curled up into the sterile air. It wasn't alien goop. It was beef stew. Real meat, smuggled from a trader in the lower decks, slow cooked with root vegetables and heavy spices. The smell, rich, savory, and undeniably human, filled the room instantly. For the first time in weeks, Kaelia's nostrils flared slightly. "Yeah," Ronin smirked. "That's what actual food smells like." He pulled a plastic spoon from his pocket. He didn't use the hospital's silver utensils. He used his own. "I'm going to feed you, Kaelia," Ronin said, his voice dropping to a gentle rumble. "I need you to try. I know you can't swallow easily. But if you don't fight, you die. And I'm not cleaning up a dead princess today." He sat on the edge of the medical bed. A violation of space, a violation of caste. He lifted the spoon. The broth touched her lips. For a second, nothing happened. Then, a shudder ran through her entire frame. To a human, it was warm soup. To a Jade Solari, evolved on a world of cold mists and low energy, the concentrated caloric density and thermal energy of human food was like injecting liquid adrenaline. Her throat worked, a reflex. She swallowed. Ronin watched her eyes. The milky whiteness swirled. A flash of emerald green pierced through the fog. "That's it," Ronin encouraged, scooping up a piece of meat. "Come on, another one." He fed her slowly, spoon by spoon. He wiped her chin with a rough cloth, his touch gentle despite his calloused fingers. "They say humans are primitive because we still kill things to eat," Ronin said conversationally, as if talking to an old friend. "Maybe we are, but at least we survive. You guys, you evolved to be perfect. But the universe isn't perfect. It's messy. Sometimes you need a little mess to keep going. He finished the thermos. Kaelia's breathing had changed. It was deeper. The golden veins under her skin were pulsing with a rhythm that matched Ronin's own heartbeat. Ronin stood up, hiding the thermos. "I'll be back tomorrow," he promised. "Don't let the bastards grind you down." He unlocked the door and slipped out, back to being invisible. Back to being just a janitor. He didn't see Kaelia's hand. The hand that hadn't moved in 6 months, twitched just enough to graze the spot where he had sat. They call it the human variable. In galactic equations, humans are the outlier. We run hotter, we consume more, we endure more. What the high-tech doctors of Station Xylos failed to understand was that Kaelia didn't need medicine. She needed fuel, and she needed connection. A week later, Ronin was back. He was tired. The double shifts were killing him, and sourcing real salt was getting expensive. He sat by her side, a bowl of spicy broth in hand. "Today's special," Ronin said, "is something we call chili. It might burn a little. Consider it a jumpstart for your nervous system." He fed her the first spoon. Her reaction was immediate. Her back arched off the chair. A low, keening sound vibrated in her throat. Ronin froze, hand hovering to his pistol hidden beneath the jumpsuit. "Too much!" Kaelia's eyes snapped open. The white fog was gone. They were piercing, intelligent, and glowing, with a bioluminescent emerald fire. She gasped, the air rushing into her lungs. "More!" she rasped. It was the first word she had spoken in a year. Her voice sounded like wind chimes breaking. "Brittle, but beautiful." Ronin grinned, a genuine crooked smile that made his scarred face look 10 years younger. "As you wish, Your Highness." He fed her the rest. As she ate, the color returned to her cheeks. She watched him. She didn't look at his uniform. She didn't look at the dirt on his boots. She looked at his hands. "You," she whispered, her tongue struggling to form the words. "You are the heat." "I'm Ronin," he corrected. "Ronin," she tested the name. "Why? Why do you risk this? I am broken." "You were stuck," Ronin said, putting the spoon away. "There's a difference. And where I come from, we don't leave people behind just because they're stuck." She tried to lift her hand. It was shaky, trembling violently. She managed to reach out and touch his forearm. The contact was electric. Solari skin is naturally cool, almost like touching polished stone. Human skin is a furnace. When her fingers touched his arm, a visible ripple of energy, purple and gold, shot up her arm. She inhaled sharply, her eyes widening. "Your biology," she murmured, staring at him with a mix of scientific fascination and raw hunger. "It is chaotic. It resonates. I've been told I'm warm-blooded." Ronin shrugged. "No." She squeezed his arm, her strength returning frighteningly fast. "It is a bioetheric transfer. My species, we feed on ambient energy. You are a walking star." Ronin gently pulled his arm away. "Let's not get carried away, Princess. I'm just the guy who scrubs the toilets." "You are more," she said firmly. "The doctors, they look at me and see a corpse. You looked at me and saw a challenge." "I saw a woman who needed a sandwich," Ronin quipped, standing up. "I gotta go, shift change. The head doctor, Kael, the ugly one with the tentacles. He's on the warpath today." At the mention of Kael, Kaelia's face hardened. The softness vanished, replaced by a regal, cold fury. "Kael," she hissed. "He is the one who put me here." Ronin stopped at the door. "What?" "The poison," Kaelia said, her voice gaining strength. "It was not a disease. It was Kael. He seeks my house's seat on the council. He paralyzed me to steal my birthright." Ronin's grip on the door handle tightened until the metal groaned. "Well," Ronin said, his voice dropping to that dangerous low register again, "that changes the cleaning schedule." There is a moment in every human's life where the switch flips, where surviving becomes conquering. For Ronin, it wasn't when he lost his squad on Terra. It wasn't when he was forced into servitude. It was when he realized that the monsters running this station weren't just arrogant. They were enemies. Ronin spent the next 3 days preparing. He wasn't a soldier anymore, but you never really forget how to rig a trap. He used what he had: cleaning chemicals, high-pressure hoses, maintenance access codes. He was in the boiler room, mixing a solution of ammonia and industrial bleach into a pressurized canister when the alarms went off. Code red, patient 402 cardiac failure. Emergency team to room 402. Ronin dropped the canister. "No," he growled. "He's finishing the job." Ronin didn't run. He sprinted. He vaulted over a gurney, shoved a security drone into a wall, and burst into the main corridor. 2 Vrakian guards blocked his path. "Halt! Cleaning unit!" one shouted, raising a shock baton. Ronin didn't break stride. He slid on his knees, ducking the baton swing, and drove his mop handle, which he had reinforced with a steel rod, up into the guard's knee joint. The chitin crunched. The guard screamed. Ronin stood up, grabbed the second guard by its breathing apparatus, and slammed its head into the bulkhead. "Janitor coming through!" Ronin snarled. He reached room 402. The door was locked. "Override codes." Inside, Dr. Kael was standing over Kaelia. He held a syringe filled with a black liquid. Kaelia was thrashing, her movements jerky and uncoordinated, but she was fighting. "Hold still, you wretched creature!" Kael spat, his tentacles pinning her arms down. "It will be over soon. A tragic complication. Get away from her!" Ronin's voice was a thunderclap. Kael turned, his 4 eyes narrowing. "The janitor? You dare interrupt a medical procedure?" "I'm resigning," Ronin said. He threw the canister he'd been holding. It wasn't a bomb, it was a distraction. It smashed against the wall, releasing a cloud of blinding, stinging chemical smoke. Kael shrieked, his sensitive ocular organs burning. He staggered back, dropping the syringe. Ronin dove through the smoke. He didn't go for Kael, he went for Kaelia. "We're leaving," Ronin said, scooping her up. She was heavy, taller than him, but Ronin's adrenaline was peaking. He lifted her bridal style, her long jade legs dangling over his arm. "Ronin," she coughed, clinging to his neck. He has the security codes. The doors. "I have a master key," Ronin grunted, kicking the door open. "It's called a size 12 boot." They burst into the hallway. Alarms were blaring now. Red lights pulsed. "Stop them!" Kael screamed from inside the room, stumbling out, his eyes streaming with mucus. "The human has kidnapped the princess! Kill him!" A squad of security drones rounded the corner, floating spheres with laser turrets. "Put me down," Kaelia said, her voice tight. "You cannot outrun them." "Watch me," Ronin panted, turning down a service corridor. "No, Ronin," she pulled his face toward hers. "I can fight, but I need fuel. I need contact." Ronin stopped behind a bulkhead. "What are you talking about?" "The bond," she said urgently. "You started it when you fed me, but to complete it, to unlock my full bioetheric potential, I need a direct link." She looked at his mouth. "Oh," Ronin blinked. "Here? Now. Do you want to die, janitor?" Ronin smirked. Hell of a way to go. He leaned in. It wasn't a soft kiss. It was a collision of biology. When their lips touched, Ronin felt like he'd grabbed a live wire. Heat, pure and white-hot, surged out of his body and into hers. It drained him, making his knees buckle, but he held on. Kaelia gasped into his mouth. The jade color of her skin deepened, glowing so bright it illuminated the dark corridor. Her muscles, which had been atrophied for months, swelled with instant, revitalized power. Her eyes turned a solid, blinding white. Not the white of sickness, but the white of a star going critical. She broke the kiss, gasping. She looked terrifying. "Stay behind me, Ronin," she commanded. Her voice was no longer brittle. It was the voice of a queen. She stepped out into the hallway. The drones opened fire. Kaelia raised her hand. She didn't dodge. She didn't use a shield. She simply caught the laser blasts. The energy hit her palm and was absorbed, rippling up her arm like water. "You dare attack House Jade?" she roared. She thrust her hand forward. A shockwave of green psionic energy erupted from her palm. It hit the drones, crumpling them like soda cans. They exploded in showers of sparks and metal. Ronin watched from the cover of the bulkhead, panting, wiping blood from his nose. "Damn," he muttered. "I definitely need a raise." Kaelia turned back to him. She didn't look weak anymore. She towered over him, glowing with the power he had given her. She offered him a hand. "Come, my bondmate," she said. "We have a ship to steal." The galaxy likes to categorize things. Predator and prey, master and servant. But they forgot the most dangerous category of all. The desperate. They fought their way to the diplomatic hangar. Dr. Kael was waiting for them, surrounded by a dozen elite guards. "It ends here," Kael shouted, wearing a combat mech suit now. "You are an abomination, Kaelia. Mating with a primitive!" "He is not a primitive," Kaelia said, standing tall, though her energy was fading. The burst from the kiss was wearing off. "He is the only one of you who understood the law of life." "And what law is that?" Kael sneered, powering up his plasma cannons. Ronin stepped in front of Kaelia. He held a scavenged pulse rifle in one hand and his trusty mop handle, now sharpened to a spear point, in the other. The law, Ronin said, spitting blood on the pristine floor. That says you don't mess with the cook. Kael laughed. A human joke. How fitting that you die laughing. He fired. Kaelia tried to shield them, but she was drained. The blast knocked her back. Ronin took the brunt of the shockwave, skidding across the floor. He groaned, his ribs feeling like broken glass. Kael stepped closer, raising the cannon for the kill shot on Kaelia. Say goodbye to your pet, princess. Ronin looked at Kaelia. She was on the ground, reaching for him. Her light was dimming. Ronin looked at his pocket. He had one thing left. It wasn't a weapon. It was a packet of combat stims. Pure concentrated adrenaline and glucose. Standard issue for Terran Marines. Illegal, dangerous. Hey, Kael! Ronin yelled. The alien doctor paused. You forgot one thing about human biology, Ronin said, ripping the packet open with his teeth. And what is that? We run on spite. Ronin didn't take the stims himself. He threw the packet at Kaelia. Eat it, he screamed. Kaelia didn't hesitate. She caught the packet and crushed it into her mouth. If the soup was a spark, the combat stim was a nuclear bomb. Kaelia screamed. Her body levitated off the floor. The air around her ignited. The jade skin turned almost black, veins of burning white fire traversing her body. She didn't cast a spell. She moved. She vanished from sight, reappearing instantly in front of Kael's mech. She punched through the reinforced cockpit glass with her bare hand. Kael shrieked as she ripped the control interface out, then grabbed him by his tentacles. This, Kaelia whispered, her voice vibrating 2 octaves lower than normal, is for the bad service. She threw him, not across the room. She threw him through the hangar blast doors, denting the tritanium steel. The elite guards looked at their fallen leader. They looked at the glowing goddess of death. They looked at the human janitor, who was casually reloading his rifle. They dropped their weapons. Kaelia watched him. She was back to her normal size. The glow subsided to a gentle hum. She looked exhausted but alive, truly alive. You gave me everything, she said softly. Your food, your energy, your protection. Cost me a week's pay, Ronin grumbled, wincing as he tightened the bandage. She moved closer. She took the bandage from his hands and finished the knot with practiced elegance. In my culture, Kaelia said, her eyes locked on his. When one shares their life force with another, it is a binding contract. You are no longer Ronin the janitor. Oh yeah? Ronin leaned back, looking at the stars streaking by. Who am I then? You are Ronin the catalyst, my consort. And she smiled, a look of dangerous mischief crossing her face. The royal chef. Ronin laughed. It was a good sound. Royal chef, huh? I hope you like grilled cheese. Because that's all I've got left. I suspect. Kaelia leaned her head on his shoulder, her cool skin soothing his bruises, that I will enjoy anything you make, as long as we eat it together. The galaxy wasn't ready for a human to save a princess. They weren't ready for the alliance that followed. But mostly, they weren't ready to learn the most important lesson of the universe. Never underestimate a man with a spoon and nothing to lose.